bounce back today on a map that should surely favor them strategically. Getting into the bans, well, it's going to be DarkZero first for the attacker side of things, followed up by XSET's initial ban, and no surprises there. Thatcher is going to be immediately yeeted out as he has been in prior games.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see what they want to try and remove further past this point. They could possibly throw a spanner in the works. Offensive ban coming in for XSET now. Let's see what the offense will have to deal with. It's going to be Thatcher initially, and then Habana to follow it up, making quite a bit of sense because of the amount of hatch play that we see across Clubhouse.
Of course, the ability to select out those X-Kairos can be quite useful for making some specific hull sets here. Just a little bit too useful an operator inside of the attacker side of things on certain maps, this one included. So we'll see her being knocked out. Cade will actually be removed. Generally, we see that corresponding to a Maverick ban, but it makes sense here too. Once again, because of the hatch play, just makes the job of the attackers a little bit easier to pop that open with Maverick or another Heart Breacher. And then, of course, Mira, once again, as she is still on the chopping block more often than not in most cases here. So let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see who will top out this matchup. You can see where the two teams sit inside of our standings at the top of your screen now. DarkZero is number 5, XSET is number 4. These teams have the same exact record and the same exact point share, but XSET does have the advantage at the moment via round differential by a slight amount.
Yeah, only 8 rounds differentiate these two, which is absolutely absurd, honestly. So very close, but this is going to matter even most. The head-to-head gameplay. See which one of them can possibly win out this engagement here on Playday 7. And this Canadian will begin reinforcing things on triple wall. This is already looking like an extended hold for DarkZero, as NJR will run all the way up top. Will more than likely be allocating mute jammers around the area to make sure that the initial clear from XSET takes a little while longer. Now for XSET, this is going to require quite a few moving parts. Usually when it comes to the clear, you really want to set, that flush up where you can potentially push the players across the top floor into, some angles that are unbeknownst to them that your team has already set up on the other side of the map, and potentially get those kills while they're trying to get back downstairs.
It's important to remember to go back to our point system here, too. Not only do both of these teams want to win this one in the event that they end up in a tie towards the end of the stage, but keep in mind, of course, if you win it inside of regulation, you get that extra point, which may help you to not have to worry about that tiebreaker scenario here. So both these teams are going to be wanting the full 3 instead of just the 2 they would get from an overtime victory, or even the 1 or 0 they could get from a loss. Into the action we go, though, and as Stokes was mentioning, quite a bit of an extended setup here for DZ. Already going to start to see it get torn apart a little bit, though, as Diaz is going to open up access to the main balcony here. That doesn't mean he's going to have it for free. You've got Hyper watching out the window on the cross, and another player also supporting his position from inside of Cash.
This is great so far for XSET that they're already showing signs of life. You have to be happy about this if you are a fan at home, because they're not questioning what the clear is looking like. That's the biggest thing. Spirits already has a nice cutoff here for lower lounge. Pambazoo's going to work his way in with the potential to get a frag here, but all of his shots are going to go wide, and they know where he is now. He has to worry about this cross, but luckily enough for him, that door frame to get into secret stairs is blocked by a concrete wall. No potential for XSET to try and pick that up, but instead it's Canadian to take down Gomez.
A flood of DarkZero players moving through bar right now, but Spirit's just a little too slow to catch any of them, unfortunately. NJR nearly grabbed by him, but he gets into the doorway just a tad too quickly, so only loses about half of his HP. XSET are down a player, and are likely not going to have a chance to correct that deficit until they work their way into the basement, now that everyone from DarkZero has successfully fallen back. XSET certainly has their work cut out for them now on the outset of this first round.
Well, what a great drone here from Hyper. I'm assuming that our friend Spirits had no idea until that cross that was actually a Mozzie drone. They know exactly where he is at the moment, and DarkZero have done a bang-up job of delaying time on their extended hold. They didn't lose a single body, as well as they picked up Gomez. Pre-prep Nitro Cell here inside of Kitchen, just awaiting any of the XSET members who, as we were just talking about, a little worse for wear at the moment. So they do not want to overextend themselves into a preposterous situation if they do so choose. Yaga does have the skeleton key, so he'll be able to connect some of the dots here inside of Kitchen, most notably the kitchen hallway, where he'll be able to make those extended angles that will be quite the nuisance to deal with Hyper and Canadian.
So just under a minute to go. XSET, no huge progress on making that descent into the basement just yet, but they are going to be changing that up quite soon. As the time trickles down, their ability to actually execute into the site gets less and less prominent, on top of their ability to actually access this lower floor to begin with. XSET unfortunately very behind schedule due to their inability to deal with the extended game, or at least keep their player count even throughout the process of it. Not going to have time to try and open up one of these walls fully here. Just going to have to hold back Eclipse. Should have noticed the hole in the wall, but apparently he's not going to react to it. Diaz lands one right on top of his head, and that evens out the exchange, but only 20 seconds left here. This is still going to be a rough execute. A second nade lands itself truly, and now a third kill is found by Spirits also. He takes down Hyper. Suddenly Unfortunately, it's XSET with the player advantage, but NJR, he's still got the M59. He had a close choke point here. Yaga, he's got to swing himself forward and support Diaz in the plant, but Canadian sneaks right by him. There'll be no time left for Yaga to reattempt this. He'll try to go for it, but no, time is up, and so many sneaky kills lead to a chaotic round as DarkZero just barely take it back under their control.
I thought that was a DarkZero round all across the board going into that last minute, but I mean, they show a little bit too much face, and XSET almost take it back. Luckily enough, Canadian, the IGL for DZ, lying in wait inside of Armory, creeps around the box and picks up the planner. DZ will get away with the first round after a fantastic roam game, at least bags them a singular kill.
So unfortunate for XSET as they seem to have a promising comeback, especially after their utility was deployed. Perfect usage of the frag grenades coming out there, both of them landing directly on top of their intended target from the DarkZero side of things, which is not enough time to properly get themselves out onto the site. Had to panic rush things, leading to a few more deaths than they would have liked to tolerate inside of that situation, and ultimately not enough control to stop their planter from being denied. DZ lead, but just barely here at 1-0 as they won't go to cash room. Instead, they'll head over to gym and bedroom for their second site defense. We'll see an interesting operator, one we don't get too often anymore. The Bandit coming out for Canadian to try and reinforce these walls since Kate is not available.
Yes, indeed. Got to make sure that XSET have to work in order to get these walls open. That's exactly what they'll do. Diaz is bringing the Maverick, so more than likely the Torch will be used to get open Jacuzzi and all the other walls that they have to try and go for past this point. For DarkZero, they only have the Bandit to try and play denial with. Yes, they'll have some impacts, but that's not really going to play into, especially the Jacuzzi wall that could potentially use it for some other things, but past that, it's going to be all on the Bandit batteries of Canadian. Fortunately enough for him, he still has that MP7 and Nitro cell in the kit, so going to be quite useful going forward whenever he gets into some hot water.
Diaz already starting to work on opening up the Jacuzzi balcony for himself. Canadian will be nearby, but as Stokes is mentioning, Canadian can't really do much about this. Diaz has the hard counter to him, so the best thing Canadian can hope for is that POV of another player is peeped through the hole that was made, and maybe he can sneak a kill off on this. Meanwhile, the timing of him running past the main stairs window a little bit dodgy there, but once again makes it out. Everyone from DarkZero will stay alive, and okay, at full HP up until the Spirits fight, that is. Once again, everybody's still at full HP, surprisingly enough. Spirits making impact more on the metal bars than the player on the other side.
Yeah, how to terrify a Siege player. Just sprint across an open angle that you didn't know was open. That's one of those things that will always jumpstart your heart. So here we go for XSET. Haven't been able to find their marks just yet for DarkZero. They did get that window open, but nobody holding the actual angle as Canadian crossed that for the wall. And speaking of the wall, Jacuzzi's now open, so XSET has gotten some work done here. They have Spirits and Gomez down low, but speaking of Spirits, he gets gunned down from Canadian, who has found his mark time and time again today. Hyper's going to go searching, but he'll find Gomez on an angle that he was not exactly ready for. He'll now go down, and it's a 4 versus 4 here at 1:20.
Exchange from XSET much quicker this time, but so is the initial kill. Kino with a beautiful cutoff against Panba nearly ends his life.
What?
And oh, Panba trying to recommit to that, thinking he might have been able to sneak off the headshot. Instead, it's his shoulder that gets chipped off here. He goes down, no confirmation on it just yet, so a slight chance that someone from the first floor might be able to get him back up, but we'll follow up on that in a few moments. And things have grown very tense with the downing of Panba. Neither XSET nor DarkZero want to be the one to make the initial move here, but obviously XSET will be forced into it eventually due to a lack of time.
Well, beautiful situation now presented to DarkZero. As the last of the impacts goes out, it'll stop the last Selma charge. The bathroom has been sealed, but Gomez gets a kill onto Pambazoo. XSET have the man advantage to try and pressure this situation to potentially trade out for kills. They'll take down NJR after he won't be allowed to pick up any XSET member. Canadian now downs Gomez. Eclipse has to step up to the plate and do something here. Can he win out this engagement? He knows one's here, but it's an ill-advised swing from Kino. He runs into Logi and gets gunned down for it. It's a 2 versus 2. Nobody has case control, but Yaga has Canadian. It's left up to Eclipse inside of the bathroom with a lot of bullets along his side.
They know he's alone here, too, and they've already established his position, so just a matter of figuring out how to isolate him out in the 1v2 here. With only 10 seconds remaining, they do need to make this play quickly. There's the first cutoff attempt. The second one is what seals the deal, though. Yaga picking up the last bullet this time for XSET and shutting down Eclipse, giving this round over to the XSET boys as they tie it up at 1-1.
A very patient version of XSET there. I think DarkZero did a lot, especially in the initial opener to punish them, especially around the Jacuzzi wall. I personally didn't like like how Pambazoo really worked the main stairs. I think it was overcompensation for the situation that they were currently at. If anything, Pambazoo just gave the reins over to XSET and was like, hey, here's an easy way back into the round.
He lets them up to Logi with killing himself there.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a little bit too much there. But, I mean, all things considered, DarkZero still had a pretty good chance, especially for Canadians positioning inside of that one. It was really XSET that just ripped it from their grasp. So very well done for them to play that situation out in the way that they did.
A lot of like all or nothing fights seemingly going down there, especially for the players on DarkZero that were in charge of the site there, just holding like these pixel angles, trying to get either a headshot or they would be outright killed. And unfortunately, a lot of those shots for DZ just not really landing where they needed to. So after that initial kill against Panda, XSET didn't really seem to have much else of an issue, except for like 1 or 2 players going down there, trading out the rest of that and getting onto the site.
Absolutely. Well, now for round 3, DarkZero will switch things up, and it seems we are going to CCTV for the very first time here on Clubhouse, which means we have to defend this garage. So how will this be done? I mean, for you guys at home, it's more than likely with Azami. She's not in for pro play just yet, so we won't have that. But nowadays, it is indeed all up to those concrete circles to hold down this balcony for the most part. But back to reality where we are now, it's mostly going to be a lot of ADSs and my discs to try and keep Eclipse alive while he tries to pelt any offensive member pushing in either the garage panels or the front garage door.
So Eclipse just patiently waiting there right above the breach to potentially fend off some of this counteraction from XSET. Now Spirits, another member of the team, might try to entry in through there over the next minute or so. Stiaz, of course, working on opening up the main balcony, and Hyper trying to take advantage upon these openings, but won't really find that opportunity to do so. Instead, just going to continuously chuck in these magnets to try and mitigate the flash dump that will more than likely follow the opening of this wall at some point in the next 30 seconds or so to bleed out all that extra utility. Panba, with this breach as well through stage, a nice cutoff for him to potentially catch any early entries into the bar area, but he's got to be careful, of course, as this is also a double-edged sword. They can just as easily fire the shots back out against him, and Spirits has already noticed this setup, so he'll be calling that out to the rest of his teammates if XSET try to send anyone in that direction. Does not look like it, though. XSET prioritizing the main balcony breach as well as the garage right now.
I don't think Spirits is going to be too worried about his positioning here. He has to worry about the angles that he can adopt, but he can't use a nitro cell or anything of the sort to try and prevent plant from down low, and there's some hard info on where that plant's going on. There's going to be a nitro cell out. That's not going to do a dang thing, unfortunately enough, for DarkZero, as all the XSET members are pretty safe out behind cover right now around the garage area. Minute 20 seconds remain for XSET to start pushing their way into the building. They've been waiting for the DarkZero mistake, but it just has not came.
Panba with the angle to finally strike, though. He's going to be able to catch Diaz, but thankfully Finka's in play, so Diaz will be brought right back up from the grave with that adrenal surge being used. Clutch play there from XSET, and a nice denial coming in. His Spirit's now going to get his revenge against Panba, taking him down and giving XSET instead the opening advantage here. A close fight between Eclipse and Kino once again goes the way of XSET, and it continues to fall their way, with Gomez picking up an additional frag. NGR and Canadian, the only ones left. NGR with positioning on site, and 2 Toxic Babes, and now Canadian fighting things out from down over by stage. He's got a long rotate, though, to get himself back in a position where he can potentially support NGR, so things are still going to be tense while he does so. However, it looks like XSET are giving DZ the respect they need in this situation here. NJR still stuck back. No one from XSET inching in on his position. They want to drone him out first, but that's also going to give Canadian the time he needs to rotate. Thankfully, they strike true, taking not only him down, but Canadian as soon as they enter the site through top red.
I was getting really worried there for just a second because it didn't seem like XSET had anybody actually pushing for the information. And luckily enough, Yaga's there just in the nick of time. And we were talking milliseconds away from Canadian actually getting back into the site where things could have really went the way of DarkZero. But unfortunately for them, XSET will be able to answer the call and get that last frag. So extremely well done from XSET inside of that round, taking their time and waiting for DarkZero to make a misstep and then punishing it severely. I think the biggest thing for XSET, though, is that they really didn't do anything about the Pamba situation that was, I mean, really good. There's nothing to really talk about with that.
Yeah.
They knew he was there as well, so personally I think it's a little bit of a misstep from Spirits in the way that he shot called that situation, because he had everybody push in from garage, and that angle was still extremely susceptible to Pamba's location, and Spirits wasn't doing anything to try and bait that out. You know, you don't have Pambazoo taking the garage fight and then he's swinging for stage or something like that. So it was a little ill-advised at that moment, but fortunately enough for XSET, their IGO was on top of it when it came to capitalizing on that past the point.
I agree wholeheartedly. XSET I have to give my opinion on it, have a dangerous amount of patience is probably the way I'm going to try and phrase this right now, as they seem perfectly okay to just sit on the outskirts of a site and bleed out like 30 seconds to a minute, if not more than that, in hopes that someone from DZ peeks out and they can take advantage upon that. And so far, that's been the correct play, because someone from DZ has overstepped their bounds. But if DZ cool off here, back themselves up, I could see this going very poorly, very quickly for XSET if they have to make the first move here. Okay, speaking of which...
I was waiting for you to figure it out. Spirits has Blitz, and this could be some fun. Round 4, we're already starting to take the kitty gloves off. We'll see if Spirits adaptation works up against DarkZero, who's currently on an extended hold all the way upstairs currently, so this could play pretty favorably into the hand of XSET.
Are going to need to once again clear out that extended game from DarkZero, and this took a pretty dangerous amount of time on the previous round. That's a large part of how DarkZero was able to successfully fend off the attack in the basement when we finally came down to that last 30 seconds, because XSET really didn't properly manage the time here in terms of clearing things out and did not leave themselves anywhere near enough to fully investigate the basement, so a lot of mistakes were made inside of that execute. DZ here, but not seemingly too keen on actually taking a fight. As you can see, all 3 members of the extended game have already fallen back to the first floor, still with presence here, and they're going to be able to strike with it too. Eclipse catching Gomez, knocking him down. That's the Finka knocked out. We saw how useful she was in the previous round, able to save Diaz's life. But now Panba just ready for more. They had the drone intel and everything, but the follow-up is just a little bit too quick as Panba expects it. So a second kill now goes the way of DarkZero.
I mean, XSET, you've brought Blitz, but you haven't used it to actually get into a fight with any of the roamers at all. So now what's the game plan? DarkZero, they have so many bodies to throw at this situation. I highly doubt Spirits is going to be able to get away with too much here. And I mean, past that point, he still has to worry about all of the Banshees downstairs that have been set up by Pambazoo. So now you're not able to really rush down anybody in any convincing capacity, so you're more than likely just going to get shot in your ankles. A Nitro Cell out, that's a dead Kino, and it's 5-2 in favor of DZ at the moment.
That's also the case down. No one near Kino to retrieve it either, so they're going to have to waste another 20 seconds or so scrambling to grab that. Spirits, thankfully, he's got the shield here, saves his life under these circumstances. Diaz doesn't even bother to grab the case. He just leaps down the moto hatch into the site, because unfortunately there's not really much else that XSET can do here. They may have decided the round is lost before they even started this final fight, and Pamba just dumps the remnants of his impacts here to finish off the round, chucking them in there to make sure that this one goes securely into DZ's hands.
I mean, that's one way to catch a Pokemon. Just keep throwing the balls at them and hoping that one of them wins.
That's how I play Pokemon Go, I think.
Yeah, I think that's how most of us play Pokemon Go. I'll be honest with you.
Throw enough balls until it catches it.
Yeah, but as of now, it's a 2-2 scoreline after DarkZero's very convincing round 4. Love the strategy from them there, punishing XSET early and forcing them to try and make their way towards site. This is something that is a hallmark of Clubhouse's gameplay and something that DarkZero is looking to continually exploit up against a team like XSET. They're fantastic in their gunfights, but if you can mitigate that early on and make it to where they can't exactly trade out in a way that they would initially want to, now all of a sudden you got a game on your hands. And that's exactly what DarkZero have done. If you saw it inside of that last round, they get that first initial pick, they play Turtle back downstairs, they get the Nitro Cell kill, and then they just play for the drops. We're just going to hold and see if anybody wants to try and make somewhat of an aggressive play, and then they gave it to them yet again. I mean, all the way down to the point where the last person alive on XSET happens to be the Blitz, which should never happen, but it is what it is.
So downstairs, once again, fielding success for the DarkZero roster. Upstairs, yet to see that just yet, however, so still a very large potential alive for a 4-2 half here if XSET comes right back and wins both of the upstairs sites for themselves on the second go-around. Now, at least the bedroom hold was fairly close for DarkZero, so not going to count them out of this just yet, and maybe giving us a bit of a closer half either, but at the same time, XSET seems to know how to handle these upstairs clears without too much of an issue. Panba will be holding over here, but okay, never mind. It's not even where the action's happening. Apparently, it's Yaga to shut down Canadian with a question mark to follow it as he goes down.
I think all of us are trying to find him at the current moment. I don't know exactly where he went down. All the windows are put together. Oh, there it is. I think he might have jumped outside off that. I don't really know there. But either way, that's super unfortunate for DarkZero because Canadian's been the best player inside of this game thus far. Yeah, DarkZero's been able to shut down XSET once it gets to the point that they're actually executing like the last round. But a lot of this has been heavy lifting from Canadian inside of these initial engagements.
So Canadian down. Certainly can see some of the other players like Eclipse step up to the plate here potentially over the next 2 minutes, but you are indeed correct. Statistically, things are going to look a little bleak for DarkZero throughout the rest of this run. XSET will certainly be happy about claiming that kill, but they're also not going to let off the gas anytime soon here. Pamba immediately shooting out that Claymore and knocking down Gomez as well. Beautifully played. He knows where it is. Spirits, he's here for an exchange, but he's got more than one player to deal with, and he's not ready for it either. The roam game decimating XSET at this point, but despite that, look, they've kept up. Kino's found yet another frag, and somehow we're still even into a 3v3 now.
XSET have been so good all stage at being able to manage this man count and try and keep things equal, and they've done it yet again here, John. Round 5 is still looking palatable for them, even though DarkZero have arguably played this situation better. Also, speaking of the Pambazoo situation, that's why you got given 2 Claymores. Claymore both sides of that window. Otherwise, you're at risk of somebody carrying what side that you placed it on and potentially killing you while you're on drone on rappel. XSET, oh no, not like this. DarkZero! Not like this, DarkZero! They know the angles, and Kino, like a wrecking ball, walks through them. Stand tall, my friend.
Kino just literally waltzing in and picking up kills like it's nobody's business but his own. Beautiful stuff from Kino there as he helps in huge part to save the round for XSET. After as well, this perfect play at blue in the front door from the members of DarkZero. All matter not because the clear from XSET was just far too clean from the garage side.
So very well played from XSET there. Shadow play that Pamba. Oh my goodness. I mean, it was a heck of a play from Pambazoo. And again, that goes back to what we were talking about before. Just the audio cue that he got for the Claymore and everything else built up to that moment. And it's really unfortunate that DarkZero couldn't hit their mark, just given how much he got done in those circumstances. So for DarkZero, they might want to try and play it closer to the chest when they have these engagements going on around, because it seems like XSET, once one of these situations starts to pop off, they start looking for the firefight to try and equalize across the board. So, you know, for DarkZero, it might be one of those things where they kind of want to try and back things off and force XSET to go even farther with that potential, you know, comeback inside of the man advantage, because then you can punish them even harder in that situation, right? You get those 2 bodies, somebody overextends himself, you get the 3rd, and now XSET are down 3 people.
Slight change up there on the attacker lineup. Nothing major, though, as Gomez is just going to switch over to a Iana to add those extra frags instead of the Zofia, which would have had the more universal utility here. Away from that, though, it's going to be the usual clear from XSET instead of, okay, maybe not here. Pamba potentially going to try and open up this door and go for the swing, and he strikes again so smooth, so quickly, and he sends out the question mark in response after what happened in the last round. Love it from Pamba there as DZ are up ahead yet again at a 5v4.
What's the difference between APAC, EUL, and NAL, John?
The banter?
The banter. Thank you. That's exactly the difference. North America.
Diaz is the one who threw out the question mark in last. Diaz is like, what did I do?
Diaz is like, hey, man.
What did I do to deserve this run out?
Why do you have to come at me? There's no point of that, Pambazoo. If anything, that's illegal activity. You can't do this. You're bullying. You're bullying.
Let's see how XSET try to make up for this deficit. We've already seen them attempt to do this before. And
that's super unfortunate to get onto things that actually matter, John.
Yeah.
The fact that they've lost Maverick in this situation, I mean, what else could you want when you're on DarkZero's squad at the current moment than getting rid of the Maverick? They're going to be down to 2 Selma charges on Kino to try and get something done when it comes to this site. Looks like they'll start things off on Jacuzzi, and they'll be successful getting the right panel open.
Good nade utility clear coming in here, too. One thrown underneath the mattress in case you guys were trying to figure out how those got destroyed there. Those are coming from Gomez, excuse me. His nades down below, so he takes out that bit inside of the main bedroom area and then inside of the kitchen, or rather the bathroom as well, and he's going to find a very nice headshot to equalize the equation down to a 4v4, but he's maybe not out of the fight just yet. Has to back away from things. We'll switch our POV, though, over to Pan, but oh, what? That was, what? How?
Did he just crawl that up under him?
He just snuck that right up against him and took him out with a return drone.
Goodness.
That's the first time I've seen
that.
No!
Oh, no!
Kino with the swing. DZ just cannot win. They're doing everything correctly, but it's not working against the chaos that XSET brings to bear in nearly every single round. Kino's got the plant down. Hyper's alone in the 1v3. He can't even peek the corner without immediately getting shot at here, let alone actually commit to the angle. Why not go the other way now? Because the first one didn't work, and you can see it's just futile for DZ. No matter what they do, no matter how correctly they play the situation, XSET plays it better.
So many influential frags coming from XSET. It always seems like there's something in the works for this team. And you can see it yet again inside of that. The Yana just rotating up main stairs, getting the initial frag. And I'm telling you, John, I'm pretty sure that Rotero drone blew him up from underneath. I'm pretty sure they crawled it like on top of the bar, jumped up to the ceiling, because if you turn it on, it latches to whatever it matches to.
True.
So you could potentially crawl it up some walls and actually blow things up. It's something that we saw on YouTube, on Twitter a little while ago, where somebody actually showed that you could do that pretty easily on coastline of all maps, or default plants in billiards. You can actually crawl it up the side of the wall, and it's the same thing in Penthouse with the bathroom as well on that map. So there's a potential that did happen, but don't worry, guys. I'm sure we will find out later on exactly what happened, and just make sure you pay attention to social media if we can't get that clip.
The attackers stole a couple nitro cells from the defensive lineup. I think that's what happened.
And just like taped them to a drone.
Just taped it to a drone. It was like, oh, what are you talking about? It's a Rotero drone. Like,
Flores actually isn't that smart. He just like found two pieces of things and duct tape, just like slapped it together and was like, I mean, yeah, man, I guess it's a drone. Sure.
That deep voice admin's gonna have to give out some penalties for the first time in whatever this training ground's called history. Anyway, let's get back into the round here, as it is still XSET dominating right now at 4v2, coming off the attacking side as well. Some of you guys may be like, oh, 4-2, it's still a close game. Remember, this is going to be Clubhouse, folks. This is one of the most defensive-sided maps, at least in the past it has been, that we have had inside of our rotation. So you expect the defenders, generally speaking, to be leading in that department, but not so much the truth anymore, as we're starting to see in more and more of our games.
Well, boy, do I have some stats for you. Granted, there's only one game played on this map in the entirety of Stage 1 of the NAL.
So a bit skewed.
Yes, but a bit skewed, but 33% defensive win rate overall at the current moment, with Church and Arsenal, wouldn't you know it, being the most defendable site inside of the NAL as of right now, which is a far cry from what we had seen in the past just for overall play for Clubhouse. This is a North American hallmark, if I do say so myself.
I think we casted that game too, and if I'm remembering it correctly, it played out very similarly to the way this one's playing out, where like the attackers are just sneaking off those extended games, finding those extra kills, and then managing to get some really crazy entries in order to win the actual attacks themselves. Oh man, this is not a good start for DarkZero either. Panba down. This is another one of the brightest stars in the team. We talked about the impact of losing Canadian a few rounds back. Now the same is going to be true for Panba, just seeing what he did in those last few rounds. And he's on the Finca, which makes it even worse. They've lost a lot of their execute capability. This nitro from Spirits probably won't lead to a whole lot. Yeah, just going to go a little too wide on the arc there, and we'll see that defender fall back into the oil pit. Eclipse does have the cutoff for him, so okay, chance for a trade, but just too quick, man.
What a defensive showcase from XSET so far. I mean, this is the most aggressive we've seen a defensive unit on Clubhouse from both the games that we've played.
Run Spirits.
Yeah, every single window so far has been manned by XSET. They're trying to take every potential fight that they can possibly find, and as of right now, it's working out for them. Only a minute and 10 for DarkZero to get anything done. Granted, they do have a lot of drone utility still, but they really don't have the pieces of the puzzle required in order to get a case down. With XSET still on the roam game, at least for Yaga's sake, I mean, there's so many different ways that XSET can try and thort this off.
I don't even know if they're going to be aware of that position over by Red either, still being maintained by XSET here. Either way, they will have to watch out for it. Gomez will be the first to be caught. That'll be the Thunderbird deployed inside of the site on an anchor roll here. Eclipse will take a little bit of damage fighting from his position here, but nothing really to write home about. Instead, it's Kino that takes a large majority of it as he fights from somewhere deeper in the site. Also, Yaga finally been activated, but walks right into the crosshairs of NJR, and he just changed them together. A second kill now coming out from NJR as he grabs Kino also. Things are looking a lot better here suddenly for DZ as XSET is misreading the plot, but important kill there for Diaz. He drops the case. Now he's got to stay alive and defend it. There's another player from Blue trying to press him out. In fact, he's the only one remaining for his team, and he's got nowhere to run. Canadian takes him down, and DZ take the opener of the second half.
I mean, that's great for DarkZero, but I don't know what was going on with Yaga in that situation. His rotate back to site really doesn't make all that much sense there. Obviously, that was the call, right? That's why he's going back towards site. But to run down main in such a convinced way, like no one's going to be around the area when DarkZero have most of the map control around the site, you're really not going to find safe harbor trying to get into one of the main access points back into the basement. So it was just a huge oversight from Yag there, because if he's gun up, there's a huge potential that he wins that fight, and NJR, well, can't do anything any longer. He won't get those 2 kills. You know, XSET actually have a very, very good chance to shut down the take from DarkZero like they already had before that situation happened. It was just quite bleak for XSET past that point.
XSET going to call that one as a bit of a fluke there. considering the one-sided nature of it, and try it again as they'll go back to the basement for a second attempt in order to try and restore the balance and give them back their +2 round advantage here. What would be a 5-3 scoreline, but if not, DarkZero potentially going to be tying the game up. DarkZero was expecting the site switch, is why we see Eclipse currently on the Thatcher over there. However, or on the Thermite, excuse me. But at the same time, we're going to see that already get picked away, so he'll end up on the Nomad. Much better anti-roam for this basement attack.
Now, the one thing to notate, though, is that Canadian is the only hard breach in this entire lineup. So if Canadian overplays his hand early and dies, all of these hatches are now locked. That's the big thing to notate for them. Now for DarkZero, though, they will have the option to actually lock up these stairwells in a pretty convincing way. And speaking of convincing, Pambazoo might actually already have a kill. I think they are. I think he's playing closer with a shotgun. I'm pretty sure this is smoke inside of dirt. This is the most common position for this, usually because you want to try and defend dark spot, which is right out there by the case under the hatch, and they usually smoke things off. I mean, I can't remember a time I was goddamn wrong, John. Kino, we'll be playing that situation. Dude, there's quite a few ways that I've been wrong in the past, don't you worry. I'm sure everybody at home will make sure to remind me. But either way, Pambazoo, he's going to skimper off out of dirt because he knows that more than likely Smoke's just waiting around the corner with a shotgun, and he's never going to win that engagement.
Continuing to patiently wait from upstairs. We'll see what he can potentially bring to bear. Bit of a hit and miss in the last round, but maybe he can be a bit sneakier this time as DarkZero continue to patrol mainly the first floor, not really investigating the upstairs site just yet, so may have not noticed Yaga's position, but they're certainly going to hear it as he continues to roam about the upstairs portion of the map here on the floorboards below them. We'll see that first can opener get used to pop open the blue hatch. Second one more than likely going to be deployed either towards motor or kitchen. Kind of obvious there, but we'll see what choice they make in a few seconds here. The kitchen hatch can be mitigated to some extent. They may not want to go that direction, so we'll take a look, and see where exactly Canadian wants to send this play in the next few seconds.
Now we are off into the land of Rainbow Six Theory. There is any way that this round can break down. Really, it's on the knife's edge at the current moment, given Yaga's situation upstairs. He can potentially, just end this entire round depending on how this rotation goes for him. But the same could be said for DarkZero. I mean, they could punish Yaga immediately on the drop or have Hyper pick up Kino just like that. So Yaga now has to do even more work here. Pambazoo is going to reinsert after he notices that the smoke is now gone. He's got dirt control, and Eclipse is already working his way into Dummy's box with the potential to plant.
Smooth plant procedure here from DarkZero. As soon as they get that opening kill on Kino, they have what they need, and they have the cutoffs for it as well. Smooth plant from Eclipse, no interruptions to it whatsoever. This is with like 3 nitros being spawned on the XSET side of things, only 1 available now, of course, but things continue to go in a very dark-sided fashion right now as they continue to rip apart things. That is, of course, until Diaz hops into the fight. So many players rotating upstairs. NJR just a sliver of health, and he can't maintain. Again, XSET coming out of nowhere with this near clutch, but it's not going to be enough. DarkZero still has far too much control, and with the clean plant they got, it's too easy of a post plant for them to be, unfortunately, thwarted here.
Yeah, very well done from DarkZero, but I mean, for XSET, my friends, they're playing really, really well into the roam game, but the problem is that the roam is not doing anything for them. DarkZero is completely ignoring it. Yaga's not making any rotations to pick up any frags or be a nuisance. When you're on the roam game, your job is not to kill people. I don't know if you guys know that at home, but I'll tell you right now, it's not. What it is it's to waste time and be annoying. If you are that player where you can just be the thorn in somebody's side the entire time and not die, you are a roam game player. That's exactly what you should be doing. So for Yaga, it was super unfortunate there because he never really got the chance to actually do anything up against DarkZero. He just had to rotate into their post plant setup and just get sent right into the meat grinder. There was really nothing he could do past that moment. So now for DarkZero, they'll be able to tie things up yet again here. It's up to XSET to answer a lot of our questions as to how they need to play out these next couple of rounds.
Tying the game up, will it stay that way, or will we even potentially see DarkZero take the lead, or XSET? Will their choice to move the site finally bear fruit for their defensive half and allow them to just barely hold on to things in what would be a 5-4 scoreline? DarkZero, though, looking prominent, especially with their basement clears, but that's where we've continued to see, at least in the NAL in both games between this one and the previous map played on Clubhouse. This is where we've generally seen the defensive teams excel, so XSET having to move beyond that, not being able to close one down, is a bit of a bad sign if that continues to show signs of struggling on the other upstairs sites that they are now trying to control.
Yeah, also the potential for the coin to catch up here, as I believe it did select DarkZero, and all of us selected XSET. So we're finally over the hump.
Listen, when Mirage started winning those rounds earlier and the coin picked that one, I was like, there's no way. There's no way this coin is actually ethereal.
Yeah, right. It's almost clairvoyant sometimes.
Yeah, that's
I feel
probably a
like
better word.
It's so crazy the the games that are old shoes and the way that those end up going. But as you said, it always makes it to where you have that little inkling in the back of your head of, okay, well, there might be a chance. And speaking of chances, DarkZero have a very good chance of taking the round here in the lead for the very first time as things begin to build. We'll get the jacuzzi wall open here, more drones into the works to try and figure out where the positioning of XSET is at the current moment. But won't be too hard to find the smoke of Kino, currently tucked behind his smoke inside of the bathroom.
Nades are going in to try and knock out the Mute Jammer that's currently supporting Kino's position with a Selma sitting on the other side of it. Unsuccessful in taking it out, though, despite a few nades going in. Canadian, for instance, trying to throw another Rotero drone at it, but still too far away. That Jammer is tucked way deep in the corner to support his position, so it's actually pretty hard to probably get something in there like a piece of utility such as a Rotero drone. Nade would more than likely be the best bet to approach that, but I think, okay, never mind. They still have two more sitting on NJR, so they could potentially try and do that here. And actually, yep, we're going to see that thrown in, but he cancels it probably at the last moment here. Could have ended up leading to a kill. Still could lead to one here as Kino's going to be thrown into the corner. Oh, but he's given the warning with all those other nades chucked at him before the frag comes out, so he's able to survive it, but forced into the open just seconds later into the waiting arms of NJR, who has no problem taking him down.
Now, what does DarkZero do with this man advantage? That's the question. They'll hop into Gym, they'll lose Canadian, and almost another as Gomez bounces back and forth between angles. They'll be playing this from construction, but Eclipse has the off angle inside of the bathroom. Currently, Case in his hands as well, as Hyper's trying to take some fights over inside of CCTV. DarkZero have not found the grounds in order to put this bomb down just yet. NJR will continue the oversight, but what a shot from Gomez there. He'll end Hyper's entire career, at least for this round, but DS will be traded back. Bamboozle will get one more, and DarkZero will pull ahead. They have the angles, they have the stuns, and Eclipse starts the plant as he'll hop off and try and see if any of the XSET members will push.
NJR catching yet another player from outside on the rappel. Nitro's out, but it's way out to left field. They're not even close to any of the members of DZ, unfortunately, so the plant's going to go down with no interruption. Gomez as well, getting his head clotheslined off as soon as he tries to reascend up to the second floor. It's DZ in control in the second half right now as they are rocketing back into first place in this game and only a few more rounds away now from shutting down the map entirely.
I mean, XSET, they're having sparks of life on their defensive side, but DarkZero are playing a better game at the moment. The way that they're working the map and the way that they've been able to exploit XSET's aggressive tendencies on defense have been paramount to their success. I mean, especially now that they've pulled ahead here, it looks like they've got a very good read onto how XSET wants to try and play out these rounds, and Canadian is just running away with it.
The roam game specifically from XSET just leading to no results that they can really write home about here, and unfortunately, their actual anchor presence inside of the site is pretty lackluster too, partially because of the fact that we have so many players from XSET usually committed off-site by the time that DarkZero is ready to move in themselves. So hopefully a return to this site inside of Cash and CCTV will yield better results, because generally speaking the teams are going to be locked a bit closer to the site overall, so there'd be an expectation that they'd be able to fend things off a bit more directly. Meanwhile for DarkZero, huge repick coming in, and nearly every single operator except for Eclipse is going to get changed. Maverick being added, Ace, Finka, as well as, again, we're going to see those Rotero drones come out from Canadian. He's not actually changing, but he just probably wanted to feel part of the team there, so he ends up switching as well.
You know, I love the lineup that DarkZero is bringing here, because this is the guys we can't possibly screw this up lineup. That's what this is.
This is like overcompensating for their utility to the nth degree.
One of my favorite things to see, especially from teams that have just came together, so this really doesn't, you know, say anything too much about DarkZero, but I always love to see those overcompensation lineups, because it makes it to where things are a little bit easier for you. You know, you lose NJR here, you lose Hyper here, you still have Eclipse at the end of the day to get something open. So, you know, it just makes it to where you can play a little bit more aggressive and go for some more playmaking across the board for all of your players instead of just a couple of them. So for DarkZero, they're starting us off early here. We'll blow open the wall that Spirits will currently be manning here as CCTV now has a fresh hole.
There's a drone that's come up and spotted out his position. Takes him a minute to spot it, but there we go. You guys saw it a few minutes prior when I was droning up there. So he will be revealed. No surprises in that position, though. It's a fairly common spot to be played by pretty much any team here. Second breach going to be used to give them access to construction. That will drive a small wedge between the players currently extending their game over towards the inside of the bedroom and the rest of them inside of the site itself. Canadian will continue to cause havoc here. We're going to see the Rotero drones coming in for him to open up the wall, potentially make Spirit's position a little bit less defendable, as well as open up a path for any members of DZ that want to execute through the garage. They do have 3 players standing directly directly next to the breach, seemingly ready to rock and roll here for the push. So we'll see if they have the confidence to go for it this early. More than likely not, though, as they would establish a secondary angle. And if they can, clear out this player that they've just yellow pinged. Oh, good saving grace coming in for the cash hold, though, as they knock out that Selma and prevent their teammate from being revealed. So they're just going to force the issue here, and this is looking a little dodgy for DarkZero for the first time in the half here. Yaga immediately cuts one of them off. We've got this whole plethora of utility trying to eat up utility for Spirits, but it's all for naught as Hyper just takes him down outright. Thankfully, Kino's here. They can only push so far as there's an M590 waiting for them, but Kino, as well, has some difficulties knocking out Panda because of his deployable shield. Corrects it quickly, though, and now we've got DarkZero with a very tepid hold inside of the site. Yaga striking down Eclipse before he can establish a good cross position just outside of the site window, though, and now Canadian falls, leaving Hyper alone inside of a 1v4 here. Case is down as well. Kino's got freedom to roam out, so he finishes off nice and quick with one final pump of the M590. Add a secondary angle that executes. It seemed like DarkZero maybe saw something that wasn't entirely true and thought they could execute upon it, or something else, maybe just like a brash of confidence that wasn't really placed properly. Quite a bit weird for DarkZero, but the good news is we're heading back to a site that they've already controlled the attacking rounds on twice, so they might not be down and out of this one just yet.
Yeah, I think that the strategy for DarkZero would work, but I don't think it works on a site like CCTV.
Yeah,
I think that if you take it to basement, you take it to, even Master, I think there's something that works there for you because of how XSET set up their defenses, right? It's very extended. They really like to take their fights early on and see if they can potentially deal some, round-ending damage, early inside of these rounds. So for XSET, that site, you're more than likely going to have to play it more congested overall, and that's where DarkZero ran into problems. All of XSET's bodies, they're concentrated around the site, so there's no way that you're going to win out that situation. Just very unfortunate.
They were either in the site or somewhere nearby in garage or construction.
Yeah, so the bat signal goes up and everybody's home,
Yep. So like I said, with XSET, that's what they needed. They needed a site where they really couldn't play too over-aggressively into their extended game, and that was exactly the site they needed to play into to accomplish that. The problem, though, is they're now going back to the basement, which is the direct opposite of that, and they've already got an even heavier commitment to the upstairs room this time. It's not just Yaga anymore. Now it's Yaga and Spirits that are going to be committed up here. So in the event that DarkZero bypasses this again and goes straight for the execute, they've got potentially an even easier time in front of them. However, it does look like DarkZero is paying them respect and is going to try to clear them.
I'll be honest with you. I think this is a much better setup, and I'll tell you why. I think having Spirits on roam with Yaga is going to be more successful than just having Yaga by himself, because you actually have a system to play off of. You have somebody up top that you can actually potentially swing somebody and get traded for. It just makes things a lot easier overall, so we'll see if they try and use that. Last thing that we saw, they were a little split, but actually Yaga's going to end up taking down Hyper, and that's a huge pick. The Zofia goes down. Pambazoo trying to get the kill on the secret player, but Yaga with two! Pambazoo not paying attention. He gets gunned down by the cash swing, and now NJR has to try and pick up the pieces.
It's a rather unlucky round for Pan, but not a single bullet connecting out of that entire spray he committed to there. So a little bit of a shaky scenario for him, but all good as he'll get another chance on the next round. Might be his last chance, though, with the way things are going for XSET, as they once again have a massive advantage built into this round at a 5v3. DarkZero literally in the middle of a sandwich to some extent right now. The good news is the rest of the sandwich is heading to the bottom of itself, so we won't have to worry about that too much longer, as XSET is retreating from their extended position down into their bunker to wait out this last minute and 20 seconds here, since they have so much of an advantage.
And that's exactly what it will be, John. It will be a bunker from XSET. Just worried about the angles that could potentially work their way in from these access points, and JR trying to open up yet another one here for Blue. But as of right now, XSET are doing a bang-up job of playing this slow. This is where we've seen them overcompensate in the past, but this time around, not the case. And JR is going to get tagged up on the bottom of Blue, but it looks like he wants to try and recoup with the rest of DarkZero here, as Canadian will be opening up the bar hatch. Still has some skeleton key ammo to try and break up the flooring here as well, so he'll do so and try and find himself an XSET member, but on such low time, there's quite a bit still to do for DZ.
Nitro's out pre-placed by XSET. No sign of explosion just yet, but probably not going to see too much of a delay on it being used, since Canadian is peppering the floor where it's placed right now. See it blow up there. Unfortunately, not lead to a whole lot. So Canadian's got the all clear to go ahead and use the second can opener to pop things open here by the kitchen hatch. What's going to be enough is okay. NJR just brute forcing his way, and they don't even realize it either. He gets so much free damage off. The good news for XSET as there's a player over by Dirt Tunnel, so that counters the position of NJR fairly quickly. What a shot from Eclipse, though, on the 5.56, but he can't maintain past that. The Dirt player again trading him down, leaving Canadian on his lonesome, and XSET on map point as they clean him up as well.
that dirt position is just so hard to dislodge on the offensive side, let alone given the fact that they were down on people and simply just couldn't hold the angle from the hatch either. That's actually going to end up ending the round for DZ. And for XSET, it's going to be the lead yet again for them at 6-5 as they'll head towards gym bedroom to try and end this off the back of a extremely successful roam game. DarkZero really haven't had to challenge it too much just given the circumstances. XSET mostly just resting upstairs, not really too much going on. Yaga had to rotate back down and just get gunned down from DarkZero member time and time again. They throw Spirits up there on the roam with him, and it works out masterfully. And not only does the initial kill go to Yaga, but also DarkZero, and specifically Pambazu, thrown off by Spirits, rotating back down into secret stairs, and then all of a sudden Yaga swings from Cash. He just caught off guard by the extra member, and he loses his life as well. From that point on, DarkZero really didn't have any way to challenge XSET in a positive way.
So for XSET, it's now do or die time, quite literally, as far as regulation points are concerned. We talked about this at the beginning of the game. Keep in mind, these two teams have the same exact record. XSET is in front because of a round differential right now, and would continue to be in front, obviously, if they won this, not only because they'd have more points, but in the event they were tied in a head-to-head tiebreaker, XSET would then win it. The big piece that XSET is looking for, though, is safety inside of the top 4 to make sure they're going to the major, and the best recipe for that is closing this game down now inside of regulation to get the full 3 points, instead of taking it to OT where they're at best going to get 2. So let's see if they can accomplish that goal and shut it down here as they are going back to another upstairs hold.
You can see from XSET's demeanor at the current moment that this is more than likely known amongst the team. No one going for an early aggressive assault towards the outside of the building. Just trying to play this one closer to the chest and see if they can get one more over on DZ, which would end this in regulation. Like John was saying, they really want those 3 points. Yaga's going to be holding things down inside of server and cache for the time being. The single panel will get blown up inside of construction, so this will open up a new avenue for DarkZero to exploit later on in the round. They'll also end up opening CCTV as well, so a lot new facets for XSET to potentially worry about.
Things continuing to devolve here. Just the early stages of the opening, however, for DarkZero, as you can see them getting access to not only the primary balcony over on east side, but the west side jacuzzi balcony now being popped also. So DZ have access to both ends. You need to try and burn this candle quickly, though, as they only have 2 minutes remaining here in order to get access, and we have seen them, as well as XSET, come to a bit of a slow crawl here and trying to deal with some of the utility.
Oh, no!
Kino, though, is such a sneaky position. We saw it coming. You guys probably gasped at home, but we knew it. You know, lining it up, taking down Panba, and once again knocking down one of the brightest stars in the DZ constellation.
That's just insult to injury right there for DarkZero. The lack of Pambazu going forward is going to mean so much for XSET's chances of closing this out. No longer having to worry about the LNG nades or the adrenal surges. XSET can simply wait for DarkZero's next move, and if they're able to thwart it, that's more than likely the game. NJR will be playing the master balcony for right now, seeing if XSET will potentially make a mistake. It's one that they really are looking for at the current moment. A Nitro Cell out.
Nice.
That might just be it. Canadian goes down. Eclipse starting to take damage as well. NGR still going to be the lone soldier manning this portion of the map. Hyper now trying to enter in via cache as well. Can he potentially be the part of the puzzle that ends it for XSET? Slip in behind this team and at least get a 2K. Nothing more, nothing less, as that's the only chance that they try and get back into this. But as of right now, they continue to delay John, and it's getting worrisome. Eclipse, he tries to push in. He's lost the case. Nobody working together. Hyper gets gunned down. Is it a flawless round? No, it won't be. Spirits will actually lose his life, but XSET still wins. Bodega, you beautiful man. Talk your piece. Talk your piece.
We can't even hear you. We can't even hear you.
They are looking so good right now. I can translate for you. DarkZero, that was a very good game. I'm so happy we played against you guys today.
What a great game. I'm a very sportsman-like player.